Welcome to the Credit Union Business News Podcast, the only all-digital, all-business resource for credit unions. This episode is sponsored by Bator Training and Consulting. We create environments where employees actually want to come to work and members want to keep coming back. I am your host for Credit Union Business News Podcast, Kbator, and I am so pleased to be with you to wrap up Season 1. A little melancholy because it's the end of Season 1. We're wrapping this up a little bit earlier so we can get a head start on Season 2 in 2021, especially in continuing to have some of those conversations with advertisers for the next season, which I know is going to be even better than Season 1. But wanted to cover a few things from this first season of the Credit Union Business News Podcast and also look to the future. Personally, having produced and hosted a number of shows, I believe this is my sixth program that I've produced and hosted, and I'm so privileged to do that this is one where I truly can say that every single guest, every single conversation I had on this show was not only valuable, but also entertaining and really, really welcomed by me. There isn't one where I look back and I say, you know what, maybe that wasn't the best of guests, or maybe we missed the mark on that. There's been none of that in Season 1. But there are some telling signs and some things that we can learn, especially myself as a producer and host, going into Season 2. So a few interesting facts as of today, as I'm taping this. This is late September 2020. Looking back at not only the feedback, but the listenership and viewership of the episodes, it's obvious that in general, that the episodes where we've brought on credit union executives, fellow credit union executives, have in general been viewed or listened to more than some of the thought leaders that we brought on. Now, we've gotten positive feedback on our thought leaders, especially the thought leaders outside of the industry, and that has been positive. But it's clear that you, as the viewer or listener, really want to hear from fellow executives, fellow employees that actually work at credit unions. So I'm going to make sure that that is a definite focus going forward. Case in point, one of the most interesting episodes, which has actually been listened to, downloaded, and viewed the least, which surprises me a little bit, is the episode with Dr. David Schramm, where we talked about family values in cultures. I thought, having had him on another one of my shows, not on the Credit Union Business News Podcast, but on Cool Culture Corner, another podcast that I produce and host, I thought that he would be a perfect guest for the credit union industry. My bad. But I encourage you, if you're interested in culture building and looking at value propositions and so forth, that you watch or listen to that episode, because I think Dr. David Schramm was spot on. But that was only listened to or viewed 21 times compared to our number one episode, which was one of our last ones, which was Eric Berg from NetGiver on doing well by doing good. That was downloaded, viewed, listened to over 1,000 times. And it's great to see that we're getting that type of traction for Credit Union Business News. We have over 1,000 subscribers, so thank you very much. And we are getting some really good traction. I believe the average listenership or views is somewhere around 300 per episode. So to the 2021 potential sponsors and advertisers, very important point to know that as we continue this podcast in the next year, you're definitely going to get that exposure. So, speaking of our sponsors, obviously, Bator Training and Consulting has been a sponsor this year for much of the Credit Union Business News podcast, a firm that I am proud to have founded and manage over the last 20 years or so. But I also want to acknowledge our other sponsor this year, which is Support EXP, who is an expert on the member experience. Definitely take a look at them and look to them for services at your credit union. But a few things just looking back at season one. My personal favorite episode, and I did like them all. Obviously, I did like the David Schramm episode, which wasn't viewed very much. But one of my favorite, most intriguing episodes was with Daniela Parker from the Twin Star Credit Union in Olympia, Washington, as the Chief Risk Officer on managing risk. I thought that that was very, very interesting in understanding risk management in the days of COVID, in the days of unrest, and the days of so much chaos. And I thought when I originally booked the chief risk officer that I was going to have to kind of carry the show a little bit as the host, and I had to do none of that. Daniela was an awesome guest and gave us a ton of great insight. So that one was probably my most interesting and most intriguing show that I had the pleasure to do. Also, obviously enjoyed the panel, which I believe was episode 10 with Stacy and Eric and Robert. Great job. And I also really enjoyed the entrepreneurial aspects, especially Jason Peach on fintech and Chad Miller on community partnerships. I think that looking towards the future, that not only technology but real entrepreneurial spirit is where credit unions are truly going to grow, not just simply being a savings club, not just simply doing things like we did in 1980 and having a little branch in one building of a sponsor, but really thinking entrepreneurial and having forward thinking to what our members are going to need in the future. And I'll get to that a little bit. Obviously, you know, Bator Training and Consulting is a big sponsor of this particular season of the Credit Union Business News podcast, which is the firm that I run, and I was proud to do it. I encourage you to look to Bator Training and Consulting for your branding, culture building, and strategy needs. From a branding standpoint, if you need help looking for differentiation in this tough market, we can help you. In culture building, if you truly want to build a team, especially remotely, we have tools and programs that are going to help you to do that. So if you are having issues with team dynamics or just simply want to take a great team to an even better level, I can help you with that. And from a strategy standpoint, whether it's on Zoom or in person or using some other type of foundation, I can certainly help you build that strategy. Not only do I have a lot of experience in the credit union industry, but also outside of the industry with other service-based businesses, other entrepreneurial pursuits. I write for magazines outside of the industry. I have businesses that I work with and for outside of credit unions. Why I think that makes that important is that I can bring insight and facilitation that you can't get just from talking to people within the credit union industry. So I encourage you to reach out to me and let's have a conversation on that. And I want to talk a little bit about the future as we wrap up season one of the Credit Union Business News podcast. I truly believe that in these very intriguing and unprecedented times, that the credit union ideal, what a credit union is supposed to be and what it's founded on, and people helping people, has never been more important than now. I also truly believe, given what consumers want today, can and will truly embrace that concept more than ever before. I think that the biggest obstacle to growing our industry is unfortunately the regulation and the red tape that it takes to even open a credit union and keep it rolling. That actually is a big fear for me because I've seen so many intelligent millennial entrepreneurs and so many up and comers in Gen Z that could really take people helping people to the next level, but may unfortunately do that in other business entities. They may see credit unions as an archaic way of doing business, or they may see opening a credit union, starting a brand new credit union as being too much bureaucracy, too much regulation, and choose to open up a different type of business that may have those credit union ideals, but not necessarily be a credit union. I hope that doesn't happen. But what I think that means for all credit unions that want to survive and more importantly thrive, that they need to tap into that consumer sentiment of the need for being a small business, to look out for the little guy, and to be able to deliver a human experience through technology, not just simply using technology as a way to transact business, but to use that as a tool to better deliver the human experience. That's certainly something at Bator Training and Consulting that I can help your credit union with. And just as important, that's something that has to be and will be a topic of discussion with our credit union experts that we'll bring on in season 2 of the Credit Union Business News podcast. As always, I'm always looking for feedback, always looking for ideas, and always looking for collaboration for the Credit Union Business News podcast and where we can take this in season 2 and beyond. So I look forward to producing season 2. I look forward to coming to you and with you via video, via audio. And in the meantime, as we continue to plan for season 2, I remind you that we have a special Credit Union Business News podcast collaboration group. I know that going well into 2021, that most in-person events will not take place, that we will be doing this via Zoom, we'll be doing this via other technology, which is great. But I think what we miss in not having those in-person meetings, not having those conferences like the GAC in person, or the Credit Union Leadership Convention, which is personally my favorite event in the credit union industry each year. Without those types of conferences, league or otherwise, we miss those conversations at the coffee break. We miss those conversations at the bar. We miss those conversations of saying, hey, let's go out to dinner. You know, I want to tap more into what you're doing across the country with your credit union. We don't have as much of that. And that's what the Credit Union Business News podcast collaboration group does bring in a semi-formal way. So if you want to be one of the Cub collaborators, I certainly want to hear from you. Feel free to reach out to me at Kbator, Bator, at btcinc.net. Thank you for your viewership, your listenership, and your support of the first season of the Credit Union Business News podcast. For advertising and sponsorship opportunities, feel free to reach out to Tim O'Hara at Credit Union Business News or myself on opportunities for season 2 of the Credit Union Business News podcast. And for any feedback, any ideas, any thoughts on season 2 and beyond, feel free to reach out to me. But for now, thank you for your support and your viewership of the first season of the Credit Union Business News podcast. And I'm looking forward to coming back to you next year with season 2. Take care. Learn more about credit union business news at creditunionbusiness.com. Suggestions for the Credit Union Business News podcast can be directed to Tim O'Hara at tim@cubusiness.com or Ken Bator at Kbator, Bator, at btcinc.net. To learn more about this episode's sponsor, please go to btcinc.net.